right, welcome back to episode 284 of the God Guns Podcast. I'm your host, Troy.
And I'm your other host, Doug.
We use this podcast to talk about God, guns, and the responsible Christian gun owner's interest. On this week's show, we'll be going over the ongoing saga of the Honey Badger and the ATF's hatred of anything fun. Also, we'll be joined by a special guest, unannounced. At the last minute, he jumped in here, Mike Giaramita. I'm messing your name up, I know. Mike G. He's in the background here listening in. We're going to bring him up here in just a second. First of all, we want to thank our bandwidth sponsors. Oathkeepers TV, they're still broadcasting us on the platforms they're still allowed to be on since social media has decided to make us verboten all over the place. But check out oathkeepers.org if you'd like to become a member or want more information about it. And if you just want to join up with like-minded people, go to, what is it, Doug?
Oathkeepers.com.
Well, no, there's another one.
Oh, a different one?
To the blank. Save our country. I'll find it. We'll plug it later. I also want to thank
Crossbreed Holsters. Hey, you've heard us talk about if you're carrying a gun on your person, in your vehicle, or if your wife got one in her pocketbook, Crossbreed makes a holster for you. Go check our buddies out at crossbreedholsters.com. Carry the cross. Also, PowerTac lights. Hey, if you want a bright light for a gun, headlamp, or just something to have in the vehicle, go check our buddies out at PowerTac. They got some great stuff, and they give you 40% discount if you find something just for listening to the show. So go check them out, PowerTac.com.
Good deal. I just noticed that our Periscope is now blocked, and we can't get on there, so that's interesting. So try it one more time. Nope, it's not going to let us do it. Good evening, Steve. Thanks for joining in. And let's bring Mike Giaramita. Did I do it right? Mike Giaramita, is that right?
Mike, Troy, when they first announced that Kamala Harris was going to be on the ticket with Joe Biden, Democrats were coming out and saying that you're prejudiced if you said her name wrong. So what I want to do is I want to start some kind of a fund where anybody who gets my last name incorrect has to donate $1, okay?
Okay, I'll send you $1. We have an exclusion because we're from Kentucky and we don't pronounce anything correct, so we get a waiver on that.
What do you don't have a large Italian American population out there in Kentucky? What are you talking about?
I don't know. Maybe in some little small section of Louisville, you might find a big concentration of Italians. I don't know.
So Louisville's the Brooklyn of Kentucky, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, when what was it? The basketball coach at Kentucky, he's Italian from up in your area.
That's right.
Of course, he went to jail and lost his job and all. Not that that's any kind of reflection on the culture at all.
Yeah, it's totally atypical for Italian Americans.
That's right.
If you watch any movies about Italian Americans, they have nothing to do with a life of crime.
That's right. No, we
But they got some cool guns.
That is true. That's true. You don't see too many Italian American physicians, right? Which begs the question: why is everybody listening to this Dr. Fauci guy? Yeah. Italian's good for many things. Medicine, not exactly our strong suit.
I don't know. I'm not going to attack anybody's culture. I mean, I'm a redneck, so we're at the bottom of the list here. All right, we appreciate you coming on again, and the reason we wanted you to come on because you are a lawyer and you are dealing with legal issues all the time, and we thought you'd have a good take on this Honey Badger fiasco. Really, it's probably going to turn into no more AR pistols if they get their way. That, and then you've got some legal updates about coming out of Pennsylvania and some lawsuits that you guys have been working on. So we'd like to hear what all is going on with that.
Oh, this is a busy time for gun rights in this country. I think anybody who's paying attention knows that. Seems like not even every day, it's twice a day. And the good news is that you got so many new gun owners and so many people who are recognizing the importance of the Second Amendment. We're seeing all kinds of record transfers going on, right? The background checks to the NICS. And they just said that September, it was the lowest since February, but still a record-setting September. So the most busy September of all time. was still the second slowest month of the year this year. That's how many transfers are going on with regards to firearms. And those are just the ones going through FFLs, obviously.
Hey, Mike, so it is hard up there to find a gun as it is down here now?
It's extremely difficult. There are a lot of places are out of many different things. I mean, handgun ammunition, forget it. I think everybody in the country is in the same boat as far as that goes. But yeah, we're seeing it's good to see the demand. I would just like to have more ammunition so that every time I shoot out of my stash, I'm not worried about depleting the thing, you know?
Right.
And this might be a good opportunity for me just to put this out there. You guys that know I reload, and I do reload 9mm. I do not sell it. I'm not giving it to you. I don't care how many millions of dollars you offer me. I'm not selling my reloads. So I could kid you guys down. I bet I get between 20 to 30 text messages, emails, or some kind of social media. Hey, you got any 9mm you can spare? A week, man. It's just crazy.
Well, people ask me how much ammunition should I have. The answer is always more, right? That's just the answer. Just more.
How much can you afford?
A guy was telling me that he got laid up from a surgery and he started reloading as a hobby, ended up making like 20,000 rounds. Could you imagine, he's probably spending 5 or 6 cents a round at the time in order to make them. And now what it's worth? I said, man, you should be in financial investing, right? Should be some kind of financial play. But anyway, I digress. Talk about the Honey Badger and the ways of the ATF, right? Can these guys get anything right? I think this is what happens when you have bureaucrats that are in charge of interpreting these kinds of things, because they go back and forth. They've been going back and forth as far as pistol braces are, as far as you can remember. There was yes, there was no, there was, well, if you put it up to your shoulder, then you make it into a short-barreled rifle, which is absolutely ridiculous. Designed or redesigned. And basically with this Honey Badger letter, we got no further guidance. Now, it's been suspended, they said, for 60 days at this point. Who knows if that's some kind of tactic to get it past the election and see if there's potentially, they're hopeful there's going to be another administration in place who's going to be totally on board with them, obviously.
Yeah.
But we didn't see any guidance at all. They give us the very basic definition of a rifle, right? They give us some basic stuff about the National Firearms Act and say, yeah, we took a look at your website and in our opinion, it's a short-barreled rifle. That was pretty much it. There's not a whole lot of explanation as to why they believe it to be designed or redesigned to be fired from the shoulder. Nothing of the sort. They just say, yeah, we took a look at your website, saw some of the information, and based on all that, rifle, in our opinion.
So I was reading something today, Mike, that they was talking about the way the ATF had measured it on the brace. They should measure it from the back of the receiver, I guess, where it goes in, but they had measured it from something else, and they said it was over 13 and a half inches with the brace fully extended. But then they made their decision that it's an SBR, but then they came back and remeasured it, and they're like, well, maybe we got that wrong. Hang tight.
I didn't hear about that. That's entirely possible. Wouldn't be the first time they got something wrong, would it?
No.
But I think the real scary thing about it is the lack of explanation for how they're reaching these conclusions and how these opinions are constantly changing. And these are not opinions that are of no consequence, are they? If you're caught in violation of the National Firearms Act, that's a pretty serious federal violation there. We're talking about jail time. We're talking about loss of all your rights for the rest of your life, right? Talking about major fines if that even comes into play, which is the least of your concerns. So yeah, you're just going to jail for a long time. You're going to be bankrupt and you're never going to be able to exercise any of your rights ever again if we decide that all of a sudden you're not in compliance. That's the way it goes. We've seen them with all kinds of issues say, this is perfectly fine. I promise you this is perfectly fine. People ask again, yup, you're still good. And then on a dime change their mind. Exactly what we said. Just take that and make it the complete opposite. And that's what we think now.
Well, it's not exclusively to guns either. I mean, you look at the IRS regulations, you can find enough loopholes that you could defend yourself doing pretty much anything in the financial sector. but they can find loopholes. They can find words in there that would contradict that. So if they want to go after you, there's enough leeway in the law that they could still go after you, even though you can find ways to defend yourself in the same documentation. And so it's ridiculous. It's just who has the lawyers and the money to fight the IRS, or who has lawyers and money wants to fight the ATF. You know, it takes a whole group of people coming together to try to get the determination, as you know, as a lawyer.
How dangerous does that make the government, though, Troy? Think about that. When they've got so many laws on the book for so many different things, so many different topics, and they're not just contained in Title 18 for federal laws, they're contained in all these other titles, whatever it may be, maybe something to do with conservation or something like that, with criminal penalties.
Right.
So you've got all these laws, and you've got really lazy legislators, because if they took the time to really make these laws as narrow as possible to really only include what's intended to include, that would be difficult. That would be too much for these politicians who don't like to work and don't like to put in the effort. What they do is they figure we'll make something that's fairly vague and malleable, and then we'll leave it up to the courts, because that's the court's job anyway, right? Is to really write the law effectively for us. And their mind, they'll let the courts sort it out. They'll interpret it, and the poor people along the way who get jammed up, and even if they don't get found guilty for something, they lose their life savings, and they lose their reputation, and they lose their relationships with their family members. That's not a problem for them. When you've got all of these laws, like you're saying, that are all over the place, nobody could possibly know all of them. It gives the government such power, because show me a man and I'll find you a crime, right? The KGB said. Think about what they did to Trump with the impeachment process, right? It was like 5 or 6 different things along the way, and eventually they found something that they wanted to make stick. And this is exactly what we've seen with regards to the government and these government agencies, these unelected officials interpreting these laws.
Right. It makes good business for lawyers. So, I mean, it's the flip side, because everybody's got to have someone to be able to sort this stuff out and charge you by the hour. You know, no cut on lawyers, but
I gotta take this one off of Evan Knappen, a good friend of all of ours. He talked about the draconian gun laws that they have in New Jersey, and people often say, well, you know, with all these draconian gun laws and you doing what you do, it makes you a lot of money. That's a good thing for you. And he said, well, that would be like being a cancer doctor. I feel like a cancer doctor. Yeah. I'm not going to wish cancer on people just so that I can make more money and I could have more business. Obviously, I want cancer to be cured. I'll find something else to do for a living, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, we could do that if we, you know, did away with everything that was passed since 1887, and then and we did away with the IRS. There would be no more need for accountants or lawyers. You know, it would be simplified and save a lot of money.
Yeah, well, you know,
and you can open a cigar shop. You know.
You know, that doesn't sound like a bad plan, Troy. You got any ideas to make that happen? I'm in. But you're absolutely right, though. And I don't understand how people aren't fed up with it, how we don't vote to shrink the government. You got these people on the left that are pushing for more and more government. They want the government to run every aspect of our life.
Right.
And I feel like the lessons haven't been learned here. We've got an important election coming up, boys. I think there's no doubt about that, right?
Yeah. It's insane. No, it's you have a certain group of people, for whatever reason, don't want to grow up and want somebody else to take care of them, like mommy and daddy. And they have turned that into God government, that it's going to make my life wonderful and give me all the stuff I want, and take it from the people who are evil and have money. And so when you have set up a whole party of victims, then, you know, that's what they've been working on the last 40 years. I mean, to make the victim class their party. And so everybody's a victim, you know.
Well, that's why I'm glad that we got guys like you around and spreading the good news about God and about guns, because I think that's what's wrong with this country right now. And I think a lot more people realize that than we know. And I think we're going to see that in November. Hopefully.
I'm praying. I hope. Yeah. It's crazy. So tell us what's going on in Pennsylvania. I know you guys have been working on several lawsuits and things. Anything new coming up?
Well, there's actually one that was filed fairly recently by Gun Owners of America, and that was in Philadelphia. So what's going on over here is this. In Pennsylvania, with your license to carry firearms application process, it's not as extensive as some other states. So when I lived in Oklahoma, we had to do the whole shooting qualification and the course and the written exams and the fingerprinting at the sheriff's department. We have no such thing over here in Pennsylvania. When I first got my license to carry in Pennsylvania, it happened to be at the courthouse for a different case when I first moved out there. Figured I'd sneak on down to the sheriff's office when the judge ordered everybody to lunch, in and out in 15 minutes. Fill out your application. You have your identification. They run your PICS check. And everything cleared, got my picture taken, left the same day with my license in hand. They've got up to 45 days to either approve or deny that license. It's the sheriff who's the issuing authority in most counties. In Philadelphia, it's the chief of police. Now, what the chief of police was doing in Philadelphia, the gun permitting unit is what they call it over there. And some other counties were doing this as well. But Philadelphia, specifically guilty of this and involved in this lawsuit, is they were saying, okay, well, we understand that we've only got 45 days to approve or deny that license. This restriction is imposed upon us by the statute. We've got no choice. But in light of the pandemic, we're going to change some rules at the outset. So you can only apply in person, and you can only submit your application if you've got an appointment to do so. So, Doug, you want to apply for a license to carry firearms? That's fine. Your appointment to apply is in February of 2022. And at that point, our clock starts ticking for the 45 days and we get to either approve or deny, which is absolutely insane. It's completely contrary to the spirit of that law. Obviously, it was based around expediency. They want there to be a restriction on the government. They want the government to work efficiently in getting people a license to carry firearms expediently. And I don't think anybody ever had in mind the fact that it could take 2 years, because under that logic, it could take literally forever, couldn't it?
Yeah.
You could say, your appointment is in, 2080. What's to stop them? Who's to say that 2 years is not enough, right? So that's the lawsuit that's going on. Gun Owners of America brought that over in Philadelphia to try to hold their feet to the fire and get them to start complying with that 45-day time requirement. And just the same week, Philadelphia came out. They sued Pennsylvania, sued the Commonwealth, because under Pennsylvania law, we've got what they call preemption, and they've got this in many states. The way the law is written out here, no local government can regulate the ownership, possession, transportation, or transfer of firearms. So basically, all of the gun laws have to come from the state level, which makes sense. You got over 2,000 local governments in Pennsylvania. Could you imagine if you went to every different county and township and there were different set of gun laws, right? That would be like driving over to the next county and they decide, okay, over here, we stop when it's a green light and we go when it's a red light. It would be ridiculous. So you don't want accidental criminals. Now, Philadelphia is suing the Commonwealth to try to regain that ability. For years and years, their approach has been, we're just going to break the law because we think it's a good idea and make our own gun laws anyway. And we're just going to break the law because the laws doesn't apply to the government, right? We don't have to follow the laws. Only you peasants have to follow the laws. And they've broken the law over and over again. This is the first time that, to their credit, they're actually going to court and trying to sort it out legally. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, but that's what they're trying to do. They want to make their own gun laws because that's going to solve all of their problems over there, right?
It's crazy.
Does it take them 45 days to do a permit for somebody?
It's up to 45 days. That's supposed to be the time limit. That's supposed to be as long as they have. Now, Philadelphia is always notoriously taking 45 business days. So even before this whole appointment situation, they've taken longer. But it depends on the county you're in. Some counties, it takes longer to park the car than it does to get the license, because as long as you pass your PICS check, out here we have the Pennsylvania Instant Check System, which serves as the point of contact for the NICS, the National Instant Check System. And if you pass your PICS check, a lot of times you'll be leaving the same day with your license in hand. Others are accepting them by mail now and just letting you know when they're ready, which is, that seems perfectly reasonable. But
ours is 3 to 5 days, and you got it. You go in, do all your paperwork, submit it. You go get fingerprinted, and take it back over. They finish the rest of it. You pay, and 3 to 5 days, it shows up in the mail at your house.
Oh, God bless Georgia, right?
Oh, man, I tell you what.
We're constitutional carry, so
Oh, he's like yeah, constitutional carry snob over there, right?
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
we're there for now. With
But you
Andy
still have to have
Dandy
one, right? You still have one, right?
we still offer a concealed carry license. You still have to go through the 8-hour class, which is mostly law, about 4 or 5 hours, about 4 hours of law rounded up, and then you got some basic instruction. Then you got a live fire, and that gets you a permit, but that has reciprocity in 37 other states. So
Right.
that's the advantage of having the carry permit, because we have higher requirements in a lot of states on that carry permit. We were one of the first ones to have the. It's pretty much a shall issue permit, but you have to complete the class. So if you complete the class, if you can hit a human-sized target at 20 feet with 11 out of 20 shots, you qualify. So, and it's an easy target to hit. It's a
that's what I did notice in living in Oklahoma, that the fact that you had these extensive requirements. And listen, believe me, being from New York, I am not a fan of the government imposing restrictions or mandating anything.
right.
But one of the good things about having had that license in Oklahoma is that a lot more states honored that license than they would in Pennsylvania. So now out here, the people in the gun owning community typically have several licenses to try to achieve that level of reciprocity. But what do you think? Are we going to get national reciprocity or what, guys?
Yeah.
No.
Trump had too much on his plate, and all of those rhinos in Congress, they just lied. So it ain't gonna happen. And the NRA is about
They should.
What about the NRA? Are they actually participating in any kind of lawsuits anymore? Or are they bankrupt and don't have any money to do anything with?
Oh man, difficult time, right? Talk about some political bias in the use of the criminal justice system. It's not even the criminal justice system, but the use of the legal system. And what I noticed about that situation is, I certainly don't claim to know any of the facts about the inner workings of the NRA. I'm not affiliated with the NRA.
Right.
I don't work for the NRA, is what I'm saying.
Right.
But I do know that when New York comes after the NRA, and the only comments that everybody has in support of New York is, good, take them down with their policies. We don't like their policies. We don't like what the NRA stands for. You know that the whole situation's a sham, right?
Yeah.
We're not talking about the corporate formalities here. We're talking about you don't like their stance on the Second Amendment.
Right.
It's unfortunate.
It is.
Not many liberals do they?
What's that?
I said not many liberals do like to stand on the Second Amendment, do they?
I had a gentleman tell me, African-American guy who is a regular at my seminars, real bright kid, and he was talking to me about politics, saying he used to be a Democrat and now he votes Republican. And as a gun owner, it's very difficult to find a Democrat who supports the Second Amendment. And his answer to me was, Mike, I could tell you how many there are. There are exactly 0 Democrats in office who support our Second Amendment. And unfortunately, it seems like he may be right. I do recall in Oklahoma, you couldn't completely outright disavow the Second Amendment and the right to gun ownership out there and win a single election anywhere. Right. So there were Democrats who claimed to be pro-Second Amendment. But I even saw a story today that there was somebody running for office in Kansas who openly supported Australia-style confiscation, talked about the merits of it, how great it was and everything like that. This is Kansas we're talking about here, guys.
Biden is talking about it. He's talking about, we're going to come get your guns.
I mean, wouldn't that be considered treason? I mean, because you're trying to overthrow the Constitution. I mean, you have to do it through a legal process. You can't just throw it out there and hope it sticks. It has to be done through the well, you got to bring all the states together and have a vote on it. Isn't that how it's supposed to happen? When you change an amendment?
Oh, that's supposed to be the way it's done. But, that's part of the reason why the Second Amendment exists in the first place, right? Tyrannical governments and things of that nature. Now, with all that being said, that also highlights the importance of this Supreme Court nomination, doesn't it? because people always forget. You're talking about how could they violate the Constitution? I get this question all the time. How could this state do this? How could that state do that? And it's because effectively our rights only mean what our courts and our government say they mean.
Right.
And over the last 100 years, our courts, our government have severely perverted the meaning of our Second Amendment little by little while nobody's paying attention. And the fact of the matter is that the Heller decision, which is one of the first Second Amendment related decisions. We got the Miller from 1934 dealing with the NFA, but we're talking about the individual right to bear arms in the home for self-defense under Heller. First one they've heard in years and years and years. Right. And it only got that far. Even with Scalia authoring that opinion, it got as far as the Second Amendment at least guarantees the right to bear arms in the home for self-defense, and some restrictions are okay if they're on sensitive locations and certain types of people who are traditionally prohibited. That's a really, really narrow give. Everybody celebrated it as this huge victory, which really in one sense it was, because think about it, you had 4 Supreme Court justices who were ready to hold that the Second Amendment doesn't guarantee an individual the right to bear arms in the home for self-defense. That it had totally nothing to do with it, and the government could completely ban private ownership of firearms, and there was no problem with that under the Second Amendment. They were one vote away, and we're so quick from being right in that position all over again. We know how we can't depend on certain justices, and we got a court situation. Could you imagine this guy packs the court and they have the opportunity to overturn something like Heller? Even further away.
Right. Well, I mean, our forefathers who fought against tyranny, that established America and who gave us the Constitution, and many of the state constitutions, or early ones, knew that they needed to build firewalls. And so you've got the 3 separate powers. So you got, the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. And so if 2 of those fall, you still got the third one to fall back on. And then you've got, supposedly the press is supposed to be out there, fighting for us, but now they've turned on us. So we've got 3 against us and 1 just barely hanging on by a shoestring. And then the last line of defense is the Second Amendment to keep us from being turned into slaves. I mean, people do not understand, if you have your guns taken away from you, you're essentially a slave, because you are powerless to the state. Whatever the state edicts, because they're going to take the first away right after the second one. So you can't even have, they've been trying to do that for years. They've been trying to shut people down free speech. We've got social media platforms shutting people's free speech down day and night. You can't have any kind of public forum without having protesters come and threaten to beat you up. So it's become to the point where we have to really think, hey, guys, are you ready? If you ever had to go to that situation, should the government become tyrannical to the point of hauling people off in cattle cars?
It's totally bizarre. The people that call the president literally Hitler, right? You always hear them say that he's literally Hitler. Are the same ones saying, yes, Trump, please take all of our guns away. Government, take all of our guns away.
Well, I have noticed that the Antifa and the Black Lives Matter guys are saying, no, we like the Second Amendment now, but not for reasons that we like. Because they want to overthrow the government by use of those arms. They want to overthrow the Constitution, I should say, not necessarily the government, but they would like to overthrow the Constitution and take out the parts that they don't want. And then, and we've got guys in media saying that, who was that dude that used to be a sports announcer that said that Trump and all of his supporters need to be done away with? What was that guy's name? What was his name? The wacko that they kicked off, and he comes back every so many years. Used to be a sports commentator, and he was saying that all the Trump supporters and Trump needs to be arrested and put away or sent away or something like that. I'm like, that sounds awful threatening.
Troy, I don't know what these sports are that you speak of, because I know I haven't turned that on the television in quite some time.
What is that guy's name?
Fan for the American flag, I'll tell you that much.
I don't watch none of it. I heard Trump talking today that he was doing one of his speech, and he was saying that he wants to make it where if you burn an American flag, it's 1 year in prison.
So preposterous, right? Well, we can't even protect the unborn, otherwise you're some kind of a monster. So I wouldn't be surprised.
But it does make sense to me, because if you burn an LGBT flag, or you burn a Black Lives Matter flag, or one of these other nonsense flags, well, you're a hater.
A hate crime. Yeah,
it's a hate crime. But you can burn the American flag, and that's not.
Well, the whole hate crime thing is about free speech anyway. They wanted to be able to label your speech as hate, and so therefore it's illegal. So you are not allowed to speak, even though what you're saying may not have anything to do with race or religion or whatever. You have the same right to say things as the other person has the right to say things, but you don't have the right to impose your will upon them. You don't have the right to make them say what you say, like Black Lives Matter stands there and say, you guys put your fist up and say Black Lives Matter, or they're going to beat you up or throw you out of your seats at a restaurant or something.
Hate just equals you don't agree with me, right? It's not my opinion exactly, so therefore it must be hate speech. You're not walking in lockstep with the narrative, so therefore it's hate speech, and you're not allowed to speak, right?
All right, all right, Mike. So I got one for you. So, hey, this is kind of like a judiciary hearing, isn't it? Me and Troy got questions, and you're answering.
Did you hear that one senator asking Judge Amy Coney Barrett, have you ever sexually assaulted anybody?
Oh my gosh.
It's like, what, are you kidding me?
She made the comment that she's asked every nominee that came in those same questions, and she did not.
One. Everyone since the last one.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Hey, so I got a question for you. So I've seen all these posts going around. They're talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse case, and they said everybody was like, "Oh yeah, he's good to go. Illinois is not going to press charges against him." I'm like, "Well, Illinois ain't got nothing to do with it, because that's not where it was committed."
Right.
Two, what do you think about that case?
Okay, so first of all, you're absolutely right. This was no big win or anything like that. Sure, you don't want another charge added on there, but what Illinois has decided, they're not going to pursue a possessory offense against him for whatever possession of the firearm was unlawful on their side of the border. It has nothing to do with what took place during the killings, we'll call them, right? The homicides over in Kenosha. And the reason I'm calling them killings or homicides is there's a difference between a justifiable homicide and murder, right? One's a crime, one is not. And I'll tell you this, that I commented on this on Newsmax television a couple days after it happened. And in preparation for that, I'm not claiming that I went down there and did my own investigation and had a magnifying glass like Gumshoe and looked for clues and interviewed witnesses. But what I can tell you is that I read the court documents in detail. I've read the criminal complaint and the affidavit of probable cause in their entirety. With that being said, these are the documents that the government is using to try to put this kid in jail for the rest of his life. They're using these documents to charge him and try to convict him of what's the equivalent of murder in the first degree over in Wisconsin. So I think it's fair to say that these documents are not painted in the light most favorable to Kyle Rittenhouse, right?
Right.
So it's fair for me to use them during my analysis, even if I don't know independently whether they're true or false or what little details are correct. So according to those documents, Rittenhouse is out there allegedly protecting this private business, and he is engaged by this guy named Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum confronts him, engages him with another group of people, and throws something at Rittenhouse. They later find it to be a plastic bag. Just at the time, they just knew he threw something at him. So Rittenhouse walks away. So what does Rosenbaum do? He walks away, right? No. He chases Rittenhouse along with these other people to the point where Rittenhouse does what they call in the documents a juke move. I kind of picture in my head, he fakes him out kind of like a football thing, right? Yeah. And runs across the parking lot. So what does Rosenbaum do? He cuts bait, right? No, he chases him across the entire parking lot along with these other people. Finally, Rittenhouse gets to a point where he can't go anywhere anymore. He's backed up into a car and gets in the low ready position because Rosenbaum's pretty close at this point. So Rittenhouse gets in that low ready position, not pointing the gun at him, but sort of saying, I'm armed and prepared to defend myself, right? So what does Rosenbaum do? He decides, all right, that's enough, right? No more for me. Sorry this ever happened. No. According to the documents, he not only runs at Rittenhouse, but he lunges at him and attempts to take the firearm, at which point Rittenhouse pulls the trigger a few times. All right. So then Rittenhouse flees again. He starts getting chased by this mob of people who are saying things that I am not allowed to say on God and Guns.
That's right.
They chase him down.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually get him down to the ground. One guy comes over and kicks him in the head while he's down on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Rittenhouse pulls the trigger, misses. Another guy comes over, smashes him in the head with a skateboard.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about serious stuff here. Rittenhouse pulls the trigger a couple times, shoots that guy dead. Another guy's approaching him with a handgun in his hand.
Yep.
For a brief second, when Rittenhouse kills the one guy, he puts his hands in the air. For a brief second, remember Ron Burgundy and Anchorman?
Yep.
I immediately regret this decision. That's what he does. But then immediately from there, he goes and he reaches for Rittenhouse's firearm again, right in that direction, at which point Rittenhouse shoots him in the arm. His arm blows up. He jumps up and down screaming for a medic. Rittenhouse gets up, walks away, and tries to surrender to the police, but all but tell him, hey, get the heck out of the road, because they didn't realize who he was at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, think about it from a legal perspective. Now, I'm not licensed to practice law in Wisconsin, but I've consulted on deadly force cases all over the country. I'm licensed to practice in Pennsylvania and New Jersey specifically. When you're talking about the use of deadly force, as a general proposition, deadly force is justified if it's immediately necessary to prevent death or substantial bodily harm. So by substantial bodily harm, you're usually talking about the prolonged loss of an organ or a limb, severe prolonged physical impairment, right? Something like crippling or something like blindness, something like mangling can all be examples of death. Yeah, death is separate from the serious bodily injury, because the serious bodily injury, you could still be alive, but deadly force could still be justified. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So even if it may not kill you, it's going to cause readily capable of causing substantial bodily harm, and you're preventing that, then deadly force is generally justified. Now, in this situation, first, where he tried to retreat several times, Rosenbaum's chasing him with all these other people over and over and over again, and ultimately tries to reach that firearm. How could you say he didn't have a reasonable belief that deadly force is immediately necessary to prevent one of those two things? When he's on the ground and you got guys kicking him in the head, which could kill him in and of itself, could make him brain dead, could put him into a coma, getting hit over the head with a skateboard. I mean, we hear all these things. They talk about how football players are in such jeopardy because of what they're doing, right? Because of their mental health and everything, all the head injuries that they're taking in their sport. You get kicked in the head while you're on the ground, hit over
and
the
they
head.
got a helmet on.
And they got a helmet on. That's right.
Hey, so did the court documents say anything about before he shot Rosenbaum? I think the first guy. Did they say anything in the court document about somebody firing at him from across the street?
Don't recall anything about somebody firing at him from across the street. They did talk about the sound of the gunshots. It was unclear how many Rittenhouse actually fired, so maybe that's sort of what it's coming from. But they characterized Rosenbaum as unarmed, which I thought was totally slimy of them in the court documents.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't armed at that point in time.
He was trying to be armed.
He was trying to be armed, right. What else is a reasonable person supposed to conclude when you're getting chased after in a situation like that?
Was he the convicted felon as well?
He was a pedophile, dude.
You know, I know we don't watch sports anymore, but there was some meme that's terrible online where it said when you're underage possessing a firearm, but the guy you killed is a pedophile, and had a picture of an NFL referee saying penalties offset, replay the down.
Yeah.
Hey,
there was two people or three of the ones that attacked had some kind of criminal history, right?
Yeah, these were not altar boys,
right? I mean,
No.
oh well.
And that doesn't necessarily play into whether something is justified. You know, it's more of a big picture thing. I wouldn't want that being held against somebody who had to defend themselves that, you know, years ago they did something wrong.
He was also keeping a firearm from a felon. So, I mean,
he was just enforcing the gun laws.
That's right.
Hey, so over on our YouTube, Brian just chimed in and was talking about it. He said somebody had fired from across the parking lot behind Rittenhouse, and they were just recently charged for that.
Okay.
So in the video, when he goes back there where the car's at, you can actually see the flash of the muzzle from across the parking lot shooting in that direction at him. So nothing says he didn't know that they weren't shooting at him or whatever. And in the court document that they're bringing against this kid, did it say anything about the third guy that he blew the bicep off of, that had his hands up? You know, did it say anything about him reaching for his gun?
Oh no, he was painted as an altar boy as well, right?
Oh,
he was out
I'm
there
sure.
singing. He was out there singing Christmas carols and minding his own business, and then he got his arm blown up. Now, listen, I understand that from the human being perspective, nobody likes seeing this stuff. Nobody likes to see on TV somebody getting shot dead in the middle of the street and somebody getting their arm blown in half and screaming up and down in pain. I know that the media wants everybody to think that we like to see that, right? The media wants everybody to believe that gun owners wake up every morning and can't wait to kill somebody. We wake up every day. I hope this is the day. But it's difficult to watch that stuff play out. But you got to consider the alternative, right? The truth isn't always easy. The alternative is a dead teenager in the middle of the street who didn't do anything to deserve that. And that's the bottom line. Those are the choices.
Right. As you can see in California, I mean, just straight up assassinated a guy there. And where else was it? Was it in Washington? Was it another patriot that got shot out in Washington as well?
It wasn't Washington, was it? It was some other place Oregon? That you.
I know one was in California. I know another one was up northeast somewhere, I thought. But I mean, if I was a 17-year-old kid, I wouldn't be there because, but that said, that's where he was and that's what happened. And from the videos that I've seen pieced together, it looked obvious that they were out to get the kid and he was trying to get away, got cornered, shot. Because, I mean, when you got a mob of people raining down on you, it's just like having someone pointing a gun at you, especially if they're throwing skateboards and all the stuff that was going on. And they done tried to set the place on fire that they were at. They'd said dumpster was trying to shove it in there. One of the guys that was with him, or maybe it was Kyle himself, put the dumpster fire out, which enraged him even more leading up to this event. And then he's trying to run to the police and turn himself in, and they're all hollering to kill him. So
that was Denver the other day, Troy. Brian
was it Denver?
Yeah, okay. It was Denver. Hey, so Mike, once Rittenhouse and once he retreated, he is no longer on the offensive. He's defensive because now he's being chased, correct?
Sure.
So now Rosenbaum is the one that should be charged for trying to do bodily assault, because even though Rittenhouse had a gun, he is trying to get away and get out of that situation.
That's true. You also got to consider, is the imminence requirement met? And because of the close quarters they're in, and their own charging documents say that he was lunging and reaching for that firearm, running towards him once he's in the low ready position. I don't understand how you attribute anything other than intent to disarm him and harm him from those surrounding circumstances, considering the totality of the circumstances. Now, Troy, talking about not being there, I understand, you wouldn't be there. You wouldn't want your kids to be there and everything like that. There's a difference between inadvisable and illegal, right? Yeah. We can agree with that. Difference between inadvisable and illegal. We're seeing that a whole lot with a lot of new gun owners who haven't prepared very well in these recent months. But this is the United States of America. You don't have to let somebody else kill you. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I'm not saying that in any way, but I mean, everyone has a right to defend themselves. The trouble is that certain states have laws that prohibit a minor from being able to even possess a firearm for their protection. In Kentucky, I know that the laws are different everywhere. So I'm not speaking to your state. I'm not giving legal advice, but I'm saying Kentucky, on your own property, your children are allowed to have guns if you deem that they're responsible enough to handle them and are safe with them. So my kids here that are minors, which only got one still at home as a minor, have been trained. And if for whatever reason I'm not home, she knows how to retrieve a gun there's placed for her protection and use that. And she has the ability to defend herself and be in her home and defend her home. anywhere on the farm or anywhere on our property, she's got a right to defend herself with a firearm that I say she can have. Now, I will be legally responsible if she does it in a manner that is careless or reckless, things like that, that would put other people in harm, wanton endangerment, whatever the case might be. But I have the right as a father to provide my children with the ability to defend themselves, and as long as I train them and I tell them, shoot their doors, and you retreat as far as you can, and you find a good place for cover, and then if someone continues to come in, you have the right to defend yourself. But you have to identify the target. That's all part of. But I don't know the laws in Wisconsin about is a minor allowed to have a gun. Here in Kentucky, if you're below 21, you can't carry concealed, but you can carry open. And you can't buy the gun, but you can have it in possession if it was given to you.
I can't buy it from a dealer, right?
No, you can't. So you can't buy it, but you can possess it.
Yeah.
18 to 21 can carry open carry, but you can't carry concealed until you're 21, which the laws are just ridiculous anyway. But the fact of the matter is certain states have certain requirements, and as far as long guns, minors as young as driving age 16 could have a rifle in their car here, for hunting, for going, shooting, things like that, and so presumably you would think that they could have it for their self-defense. Now, should it be loaded? Should all these different factors are beyond the case. Do you know anything about the Wisconsin law? Does he have a ability to have possession of a rifle at 17?
He may very well be guilty of a possessory offense if that's the case.
Right.
But that doesn't impact his justification under the circumstances.
Right.
So he might be guilty of a possessory offense, which would be lesser involved, but he doesn't have to let somebody else kill him, doesn't lose that justification. That's a mistake that a lot of people are making on this case, looking from the outside, saying, well, he shouldn't have had the gun in the first place, so the shooting couldn't have been justified or self-defense, whatever they want to call it colloquially. But that's one has nothing to do with the other.
Right.
Now, certain other laws might be impacted. For example, under certain stand your ground statutes, one of the requirements, you must be in lawful possession of the firearm. But all that really does is it impacts the duty to retreat. And he tried to retreat. He couldn't do it with complete safety, obviously. So that's really not going to come into play as a factor in this situation. But Troy, we're talking about minors with firearms and young people with firearms. That's one of the things that's changed dramatically over the years in this country. As what have we taken out of the schools? We've taken the prayer and God out of schools, and we've taken education with respect to firearms. And they want to wonder why they have these problems with the youth in this country when they have no exposure to the Word of God. They get no exposure to firearms training, safety, and education.
Right.
I can tell you something that I hear stories from when people were younger. They'd go to school and every single truck in the parking lot would have guns during hunting season, right?
Year round.
It wasn't hunting season. It's year round. We had a rifle and a shotgun.
Well, let me ask you this. Did people come in and shoot up the school all the time? Was that like a huge problem out there? Well, then obviously access to firearms wasn't the problem, was it? Because you would have known about that problem back then, wouldn't you? It's never been more difficult to get a firearm in this country than it is right now. It's not that years ago or that we had 10 times the amount of background checks and everything like that. No, it was easier to get a firearm. There's more access to firearms. Right. So don't tell me that that's what the problem is in this country.
Oh, no.
It's not.
Go ahead.
It's not the problem. It's the mentality of kids today. And that's the problem. We were totally different back then than kids are. And I know as they're like, oh, well, you're old, so that's just the way you think. That was your generation. No, we had respect for people.
Yeah. And
we had respect for firearms, and we weren't just, trying to shoot everybody up. So,
I mean, you and I, Doug, we had a buck or a case knife or something on us every day at school.
On my belt, on the side.
Yeah. Everybody did, but nobody pulled a knife out when you got in a fight. I got in a fight right in front of Doug, I think, one time there in the hallway, right in front of the principal. It wasn't really a fight; it was just a boys being boys kind of thing, and
just a misdemeanor.
I didn't go for a knife. I just grabbed the guy by his neck and flipped him over on the floor and knocked him out. But other than that, I wasn't going to stab him to death. I think it has a lot to do with this the cheapness of life. I think that that people just don't respect the value of life anymore. They don't respect their fellow human being. And is that from video games? I don't know. Is it from movies? I don't know. It's probably from lack of knowing God's law, from being 2 generations removed from going to church for most of the country, where they don't have that moral, morals ingrained into them, brought up in a church or brought up in a school that allows the 10 Commandments or allows prayer, things like that, where there's a reverence for a judging God, so.
And Troy, this is my issue with Black Lives Matter. I know that a lot of people want to twist that and say that you're racist and you don't believe the phrase Black Lives Matter if you disagree with the organization, which is absolutely preposterous.
Yeah.
You know, we have an organization called Don't Beat Up Nuns, and our mission is to kill puppies. That doesn't mean that if you disagree with us that you want to beat up nuns. Black Lives Matter, one of the things on their mission page was to get rid of the family unit. And that's such an important part of this country's fabric. That's something that's went downhill over the years in this country, because there's accountability that comes with that loyalty to the family unit, that responsibility to the family unit. And we don't see that these days. And you talk about the lack of value for human life. Think about how many babies are killed every year. And we got people trying to disguise that as a right. They disguise it as a right. And you should have the choice. Why are you telling me what to do? It's my choice. Well, you got a choice to do a lot of things. There are a lot of choices out there. Just not killing a baby. That is not a choice.
It's not bad enough that they want to do it, at so many weeks, but now they want to push it all the way out to, they have up to 5 minutes after birth to do it.
Yeah, well, the Virginia governor says, we'll deliver the baby and then we'll have a conversation and make a decision, right?
Yeah.
How sick is that?
That's murder.
Governor Blackface.
That's right.
Gosh, of all things.
Maybe we gotta no. I'm not going to say it. Not going to say it. But there's no wonder why we run into these issues when this is what we're dealing with, and it's becoming normal. It's becoming to be expected. It's a shame.
I mean, the Bible says in times that people become more cold and more self-centered and more violent and murderous and self-seeking. So we know that we're heading in the downward spiral, but we don't know that this is the end downward spiral, because there's been many over the centuries since Jesus was nailed to a cross. So, thinking that we've got a ticket to ride on up to heaven and we don't have to worry about this, it may not be to another millennium. You don't know. If you were in Germany or some Holocaust country and thought that, well, I'm a believer and everything's going to be okay. Well, your children, your grandchildren, you don't care enough about them to stand and fight, so they don't have to. So they're not hauled off to some camp or some enslavement. There's lots of forms of slavery, and communism is the biggest one. Everyone is a slave to the state. And when you were saying that the Black Lives Matters statement there to end the family unit, that's right out of the Communist Manifesto, to end the family unit, to get rid of all churches, all religious institutions, to take away the education from the parents and give it to government. That's fascism, where you're training up people to be what the government wants them to be. That's slavery. That's not.
Well, look who runs the Black Lives Matter movement. It's
trained Marxists, right?
Yeah, trained Marxists. They put it out for you and tell you they're going to do it.
Right.
It's such a shame.
And people just blindly follow along.
But Trump's a colluder with the Russians, the communist Russians. Yeah, yeah, right.
Hey, Mike, you got an invite just a minute ago over on our YouTube channel. People are commenting and talking to us, and one of my buddies, Andy, said for your 2A service, man, you got a all expense paid hog hunt on us if you want to come down and go with us.
I am so there. I'm going to hold him to that. See, I'm a lawyer, so you're contractually obligated.
There you go, Andy.
It's written down. It's wait. No consideration has
No
been yet
consideration.
exchanged.
Hey, we won't even make you fly with a gun, man. We'll hook you up when you get here.
Oh my goodness, that would be absolutely amazing. We ought to tape that one too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much fun would that be? That would be absolutely incredible. I would really appreciate that. That would be amazing.
You just ain't listened to the show lately. We run thermals and stuff now that have video recording devices on them that are built in, so I can record your hunt, the whole 9 yards, so you don't miss.
Amazing. That sounds great. You got to put me in touch with that gentleman. That would be great.
Oh, he's a buddy of mine, so you're in touch now.
It sounds good. Unfortunately, these guys are stuck with me, right? You guys don't have any choice anymore.
Well, you've been really generous with your time. I know you got a busy schedule, and I don't want to keep you up all hours of the night. And our listeners are going to start bailing on us here pretty soon. So, before you go, though, have you tried the LaFleur? What is it? The Andalusian Bull?
No.
Have you not tried that?
I have not. It's
what is it? The one that has the chisel. What's the name of the company?
LaFleur Dominicana.
Well, yeah, LaFleur
Dominicana. The one that comes in the gold tube, is it?
Oh, you must be talking about cigars now.
It comes in a box of 10, and it's like a paycheck to buy one. But they you got to try those out, man. They are awesome. Now
send me the name. I'm not going to deny trying a new cigar.
Yeah. So Mike's a cigar guy. So when we were in Pennsylvania a couple years ago, we were talking cigars. He's supposedly got the inside road to some kind of cigar shop that I'm going to have to come up there and visit sometime.
Absolutely. All hours access over there in the Harrisburg area. Our friends over at Tobacco Company in Lemoyne. Excellent place over there. Great guys. They believe in God. They believe in guns. Best program on the planet, guys. Your audience ought to know that if Obama condemns people for God and guns, that you're in the right spot, right?
Yeah,
you guys got it right.
Absolutely.
Hey, tell our folks about your radio show and your TV spots and all that as well.
Check us out, Fox News Radio, 1180 WFYL.com. Our YouTube channel is Mike G in the Morning, and I've been appearing as a contributor on Newsmax, talking about Second Amendment issues, typically every Friday during the 11 o'clock Eastern hour. I've been appearing also on John Bachman's program, which airs at noon. Excellent people over at Newsmax, very friendly towards the Second Amendment. Check them out if you haven't, really. You can watch it for free online, Newsmax TV, get the live stream, get the replays. Excellent stuff. I've had it with you, gentlemen. I'm out of here.
Hey, also, if they get in trouble with the law, where they get a hold of you at?
Thegunlawfirm.com. Thegunlawfirm.com.
Right,
easiest way to do it. I figured I'd post it out there. Hopefully you don't, but if you need your rights back, you want to get your rights back, you don't have your rights, you're not sure if you're eligible to own and possess firearms, give us a call, or if your friend does. I get a lot of people who call me, my friend had this thing on his record from years ago. Right? It's like, okay. Everybody's always calling for their friends.
Thanks a lot, Mike. We really appreciate
it. For a friend.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. God bless.
All right. Good
night,
night,
Mike.
All right.
Always fun having Mike on.
Yes, sir. He is very knowledgeable, and we appreciated his time. That's probably what cost us several $100 just to buy that time.
And we got it for free.
So no kidding, though, guys. If you guys are in the Pennsylvania, New Jersey area and you need legal, that's your contact right there. All right. So
he does a lot of stuff with U.S. Law Shield too, right?
Yeah, he was with the U.S. Law Shield, and he partners up with Evan Knappen. Evan Knappen, yeah.
Yep.
So good deal. I think he's also buddies with Anthony over at Anthony Calandro too.
He is.
Yeah,
he is.
And Tony Simon, all those guys. All right, so let's see, where were we at before we got? We had so much fun. I mean, that was a whole show right there.
I know.
Let's see. Let's see their God and gun activities. Doug, what'd you do over the last week?
Of course, on the God side, I've been doing my Sportsman's Daily devotional, and still been doing the hospital devotional, which they've been sending those out, which is a good thing. So I keep up on those as well. The gun side, everyday carry. I've been trying to kill deer this week with the black powder rifle. I've been using my Thompson Center Encore Pro Hunter 50 cal. And Saturday starts rifle season. So if I could say one thing, just be careful. People are going to be climbing tree stands. Make sure you wear your safety belts, your safety harnesses when you climbing up in the stands, especially if you're in climbers. And just be safe. Make sure you get home alive. A lot of people get hurt every year from falling out of tree stands. So be careful there, and always know what your target is
And what's behind it.
and what's behind your target. Absolutely.
Good deal. That got your stuff?
That's me. I ain't done much else other than that this week.
It's quite a bit. Of course, daily Bible reading, and I fasted one day this week. I was going to fast today, but I didn't because I was out doing stuff, and I thought, well, I might get 2 weeks. But I have been fasting. Usually fast 2 days a week. This week I only fasted one so far. I might fast tomorrow. We'll see how things go. Did church security on Sunday. Watched over the flock, and Gunner assisted me. He's my assistant now. He's quite capable as a security, and so glad to have him helping. Reloading, did a little bit of reloading. Worked on some powders, loads for the 223 with some 62 grain. Working up a couple. I've got 5 loads so far. I'm jumping up like 2 grains at a time to see how they pattern with my rifle. Haven't went and shot those yet. Been a little busy. Had a tree blow down and take out a fence Sunday night, I guess it was, and no, not Sunday night. What night was it? I don't know. Monday night, or I guess it was Monday night or Tuesday night. And I found it yesterday, and well, I found it that night, but I couldn't get anything in there. I moved the cows up to another pasture, and my neighbor came over and helped me. We put up some gates and closed it off until I can get it repaired. I didn't have enough wire, and I think it's broke one of the posts, so I'm going to have to drive a new post in. So did that. Moved the cows into another pasture, and what else to do? That's pretty much it on the guide and gun side. I got order in from Lone Wolf distributors. Their Glock. They sell other parts too, but they're mostly a Glock type of accessory store and part store. And you can buy. They've got lowers and uppers and barrels and everything you want to do with the Glock. Trick it out, special cuts and all that stuff. I ordered some replacement parts for my Glock 20. That dude's like 25. I don't know, it might be closer to 30 years old. Now, I don't know when the 10 millimeter came out. It was like early 90s.
Long time ago.
Yeah, and so I noticed the spring was getting a little bit soft on it. So I got a new spring, got a new. What else did I get? Got a couple. I got a plate. The plastic plate was starting to get some wear on it from taking it off and on. I switched over to aluminum back plate, and got a new firing pin. I don't know how many rounds I got through that thing, but I still was shooting fine. I didn't have any, but just, it was at the age it needed to be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
So did a little bit of work on the Glock 20. Got some parts also for the Glock 21. They all use pretty much the same parts on those two. And I got some 9 millimeter parts for the 17 and the 19. And I think about buying another Timberwolf frame, and I've got to send off my Trigicon RMR, but it's got a stripped out screw in it, so I got to try and back that out. That's pretty much it on the gun side. EDC carrying the Glock 30S, the Super Tuck, and I also have the Ruger SP101 with me again. It's sort of, I just drop it in the pocket. I'm wearing shorts a lot, so I got to back up, and all the usual suspects as well. What you carrying tonight?
I have my Glock 19 with the Student of the Gun night vision sights on it, and man, that thing is dirty. I've been carrying it I carry it every day, but
yeah,
it's amazing how dirty it gets, man.
Yeah, dust and lint and hair and skin. I could take mine up about once or twice a week, and blow all the dust out of the window slide in the frame, and then I'll strip it down and run some oil over it. But in the summertime you gotta clean pretty often. You get enough sweat on them, they can get pretty nasty.
Yep. So I got my Glock, and I have my Spartan auto knife.
Cool.
That I really like that thing, man. It goes everywhere with me now. So
Yep. Yeah, I love my little Microtechs. They're about the same size as that.
yeah, but it's a good knife. So
You like to
that's
have
it.
it's got a double edge?
It does got a
Edge?
double edge. I don't know if you can. Let's see.
Yeah. I was thinking, yeah.
It's got the Damascus steel.
You just got to remember not to put your thumb on the back of it when you want to cut something.
Right.
Yowzer. Oh, we got some feedback. Cool. What we got?
We did. I couldn't remember. I didn't remember doing this one. So I thought I would throw it in there just in case we didn't. So this is it says thank you, 5 stars from RS Brian 66, and he said best podcast I listened to.
Cool.
Cannot thank you enough for spreading the word and info about guns. God bless you guys, and that was it.
I think I know who that man is.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, he's a regular listener.
That was mighty nice.
He's been with us 3-6 months. I don't know, somewhere in that range. I think maybe longer.
I couldn't remember if we did that one before. It didn't sound familiar to me.
No, I don't think we did. I think we missed that one somehow.
I got this new laptop now, so I can actually pull up iTunes and actually go look now. So
yeah, where
my other one was giving me fits before, so now it actually works. So I can actually pull them up, look at them.
Good deal. 66. That's a good year, man. That's a good vintage. I'm a 66, and my Scout's a 66. Oh yeah, I worked on the Scout. That's something I did. I forgot. I went and started working on the Scout. It's been sitting in the garage without anything happening to it for quite some time. I went in the garage. I guess it was Tuesday, and I started just moving everything away from it, and I started digging into it, and I cleaned it all out, got all the parts out, organized the parts that were already the guy before me had, went through it, inventoried that, saw what I needed, cleaned out the floor. It had a broken window in it, took the glass out, got cut up a little bit, but got all the glass out of the window and vacuumed it all out, checked all the fluids, checked the radiator, found I got a pinhole leak in the radiator, and I've got the oil was good, looked brand new in it. I found out that it's got brand new set of brakes all the way around. I found that the key does operate the switch. It was a little stuck. I'd sprayed some WD-40 in it and let it soak, and the switch would turn, but all the terminals are really corroded looking. Sprayed those with some contact cleaner, and they still look pretty bad. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to find a starter switch for a 66 in International. So that's going to be fun and probably really cheap. Not
JC Whitney.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen a JC Whitney catalog in 15 years, probably.
I know.
I'm sure they're still around. But the hoses are still pretty good. The belt looks good. The alternator looks fine. I pulled the plug, and I ordered me one of those indicators to see if it's getting spark. It lights up you stick it in the plug wire, and it lights up if it's getting spark off of your solenoid. Is that right? And so I'm pretty sure it's going to need points, and I don't know how to set those. So I got to watch a bunch of YouTube videos and see if I can figure that out. But everyone I watched so far, the guy's hands are over it, so you can't really tell what's going on. Need to get a battery for it. Found out it was a 12 volt, not a 6 volt. Several people said it was probably a 6 volt, but it's not. It's a 12 volt. And so I got really deep into it. So I'm pretty happy. I'm going to try to pick up a battery tomorrow because I think it's supposed to rain. So I can work inside and we'll leave the fence until another day. And then try to work on that and see if I can get that thing started. I need to siphon all the gas that's in the old tank out and change out the fuel filter. And I found out that my air filter is oil over air filter. I don't know if you ever heard of those. It's an oil bath filter. I'd never seen one, but the filter sits on top. It's got oil all on the bottom. I guess the air goes through the oil and filters out the stuff.
Kind of like a K&N.
No, it's like liquid, like this deep of oil,
Oh,
in the breather box that sits on top of the carburetor. And so I did notice that the choke cable's missing, and I noticed that my steering wheel is broken. And so that's really disheartening because I don't know how hard it is to get a. I guess you probably get an aftermarket steering wheel for it, wouldn't be a problem, but the original steering wheel has got cracks in the frame, so it would probably break off the first time I try to drive it. Plus, I noticed the steering box is leaking. The steering box is huge. It's like this. I don't know. It's like 18 inches tall and like maybe 6 inches and like 5 inches deep.
mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it looks like maybe it was a power steering unit, but I don't see anything running to it to power it. So it must just be a really big steering box. I never saw anything like that before. But so I'm finding out all kinds of new things, and so I'm really excited. I think I might get this Joker started next week if I can get the switch to work enough to at least start it. But I've got to find some way to adjust the. I know the carburetor's sticking some. Yeah, the oil catches the dirt and dust. When I had a 56 Ford, I had one. Cool. Yeah, I ran it by a mechanic and said, oh, yeah, you just got to change the oil out, put in some, I forget what he said, 530 something oil or something. I didn't write it down at the time, but I've got it in my notes. All right, so you got a joke for us.
I do. So a preacher went to visit an elderly woman from his church that had just had an operation. As he was sitting there talking to her, he noticed there was a bowl of peanuts on the stand next to the bed. So he began to eat some of them. And soon it was time for him to leave, and he had noticed that he had eaten all of her peanuts. He said, Sister Jones, I'm sorry, but I ate all your peanuts. And she replied, that's okay, Pastor. I already sucked all the chocolate off of them.
That's the third time you told that joke, Doug.
It is not.
It's a third time you told that joke.
We've been doing this for 6 years, so we got people probably ain't heard it.
7. Let's see. Thanksgiving or Christmas will it be 7 years for you?
Christmas.
So Christmas will be 7 years for you. Yep, you've done said that joke 3. You're showing your age, Doug.
I still like that one. No, I'm showing my.
It's an oldie but goodie.
I'm showing my memory loss.
Joke. It's just you search for clean jokes and you run out of them.
You do run out.
Yeah, it's hard to find them.
I can find all kind of other ones. But.
It's a good joke, though. Ain't nothing wrong with that joke. But maybe the new listeners will get a chuckle. All right, so Bible verse. It's a short one tonight. We're not going to be long here. It's coming from Psalms 119, verse 165. And I'm going to click on this, and I can see it. Great peace have those who love your law. Nothing can make them stumble. It's as simple as that. If you know what God's law is, it's found in the Bible, by the way, and you follow it, you'll have peace, and you won't have problems like people who don't know the law and stumble over it. Now, doesn't mean you won't be persecuted.
No.
Doesn't mean you won't be tried. Doesn't mean people will try to make you cuss and stumble around and throw a fit and pitch a fit and even maybe cuss at something. But if you follow, you won't have trouble with God. If you're following his law, you're being obedient. And no, we don't live by the law. We live by grace. But if you live by the law, it's a lot easier to live by grace too. Because when you do mess up, you won't have so far to go back. But that's just the verses tonight. Just simple. Just remember, if you obey God's law, if you know God's law, if you obey God's law, it doesn't get you to heaven. Only Jesus, his sacrifice, and your acceptance of that free gift gets you to heaven. But once you are under grace through Jesus Christ, then you need to try to live by the law to the best of your ability, recognizing it doesn't get you any higher status because we're all the same. We all are measured by Jesus's grace, right? That's the only way. But the life lessons that I've learned in my life, if I just done what I knew to do according to the scripture, I would have had a lot less painful life and probably a lot more enjoyable life. But God's able to take even the worst, nastiest sinner out there, and he is able to forgive you of all your sins, and you can have a hope for heaven because of Jesus' sacrifice, not because of your deserving it, not because of anything that you do, but because of his love for you and his sacrifice for you. And so just always remember there is hope in this very, very bad world we live in. All right, so that's the Bible verses. We done the main topic.
We
We're
did.
Let's see, we got the armed citizen left right after we plug our sponsors. We want to encourage you guys that are interested in helping us out. We used to be Patreon. They booted us. And so I don't know if it was the God or the guns, but somehow or another, they didn't like what we were doing and they kicked us out. So we picked up Subscribestar. And this was encouraged by several of our friends, Tim and several other listeners said, "Hey, get a Subscribestar account. They're not like Patreon. They're good." And so we did that. So we have a Subscribestar. Just search under God and Guns, all together, God and Guns, and you will find us. And some people said they didn't find us, and I've sent links, and I posted it to our Facebook page, so you can click on there and scroll up a day or two, or maybe a week back, and you'll find all that too. Also, we'll remember Oath Keepers. They are broadcasting our show over on their platforms when they're able, as long as they still have any platforms left because of the attack by the socialist media. Go ahead.
I was going to say, did you see that they've been hammering me pretty hard the last couple of days too?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, LinkedIn's been banning my stuff. LinkedIn, of all things, said that what I posted about the CDC was not like, are you serious? You're saying the CDC is lying? Facebook did that. Twitter did that. It's crazy. But if you're not checked out Oath Keepers, go to oathkeepers.org and you got the next two. And then we got Armed Citizen coming up.
Axelson Tactical. Hey, you've heard Troy and I talk about our Axelsons that we have and what good shooters they are. Axelson makes performance rifles, custom pistols, bolt guns. If you're a long range shooter, go check our buddies out at Axelson USA. And when you find something you like, which you probably will, use our promo code God and Guns, and they'll give you 25% or 10% off. That's 25. That ain't right. That's the wrong one. 10% off on anything that you find just for listening to the show. And also Palmetto State Armory. We don't have a discount code, but everything that you buy through our affiliate link, they send us a little bit back in return to help us out with the show, which helps us with bandwidth and all the expenses we have. So that helps us out by doing that. So go check our buddies out at Palmetto State Armory. And I know somebody's out there is about to build a new pistol, a rifle, or needs parts. They got them. So go check them out, PalmettoStateArmory.com.
Hopefully they'll have some ammunition soon since they bought out the Remington ammunition.
I hope so.
Plant. That'd be cool.
Dude, I was off yesterday, today, and I'm off tomorrow. And Wednesday before I went out of town, I had to run to Academy to do something real quick. And I got there right before they opened the doors, and there's a line down the sidewalk. I was like, what in the world? And I walked in. Well, I forgot Wednesday just happened to be, I don't ever catch them during the week. It just happens to be an ammo delivery week. So I walked in, everybody gets right in line to go buy ammo. And they had 9mm, 223, 5.56, 300 blackout, some 45. But they had a pretty good selection up there. And I was like, well, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to go get what I need and then come back. And if they still got something, I'll get it. And I got back up there. I was gone 10 minutes and there was nothing left. They cleaned it out. Guys sitting in line waiting for it. So if you got an Academy, go find out what days their deliveries are and get in line early. And that's how you get ammo.
Yeah, those guys then turn into the black market because then they don't ever shoot it. They just buy it up because they ain't got nothing better to do. And then they're going to turn around and sell it.
And they're selling it.
Premium.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got accused of that, but I just go buy some, every time I'm there, I buy another box or two. And over time, you'll have stuff to put away.
I started doing something Professor Paul on Student of the Gun had brought up. This has been a couple years ago. He said, get you an ammo can. Every time you go to Academy, when you can afford it, get a box, a 100-round box, get however many you can get, and put them in that can.
Mm-hmm.
And don't shoot them. Just keep filling your can up until you get a full can. And that way, if you got a training class or something, you go pull your can and you're done, and then just fill it back up.
Yep.
And I've loaded up several cans since then.
Mm-hmm. I've got a whole corner of my bunker over here. I probably put some firewalls around that thing. I don't know. Armed Citizen, what we got tonight?
Armed Citizen comes to us from all places as San Francisco, California. A man was forced to defend himself when he was encircled by a gang of armed men after exiting a luxury department store in San Francisco, California on October 1st. The man wearing a Rolex watch left a Neiman Marcus department store near Union Square around 5 p.m. A group of individuals armed with handguns then encircled and attempted to rob the man at gunpoint. A struggle then broke out between the man and the muggers as they tried to rob him in broad daylight. The man was unarmed, yet during the struggle, he managed to take a pistol from one of the assailants. After wresting the pistol from one of the muggers, the man then shot the attacker in the chest several times at point-blank range. The other thugs quickly broke their attempted robbery and jumped into a getaway car after the man seized the pistol and shot their associate. Police officers nearby heard the shots and rushed to the scene, where they found that the wounded assailant was on the ground. Aid was rendered to a 21-year-old assailant who was rushed to a local hospital but later died of his wounds. Witnesses in the area told investigators that the man acted in self-defense during an altercation with a gang of would-be robbers. Police also recovered 3 firearms from the scene dropped by the thugs as they fled. The slain assailant was a suspect in a home invasion back in May 5th and also had 6 other cases pending for robbery, stolen vehicle possession, and child endangerment. And that story comes from Asian-Dawn.com in San Francisco, California.
Good deal.
I guess they can drop those charges now, can't they?
Yep. I'm in the middle of a text with my daughter.
Close the book on that. Brian said that's what he's been doing. Every time I find ammo dirt cheap, I've been buying another 1,000 rounds. I wish you'd tell me where you're finding 1,000 rounds dirt cheap, because I'd like to get in on it.
Yeah. I ain't found nothing dirt cheap in a long time.
Next thing I knew, I had a pile of ammo in my house. That's like, I know you guys have heard me say it before, but I love seeing these news commercials where they say, oh, well, they went in and to make an arrest on somebody for whatever. And it's like, oh, they found 5 guns and a cache of ammunition that totaled up almost 200 rounds. I'm like, that ain't a cache. That's not even a good day at the range.
I know. That's like 20 minutes at the range, man.
Yeah. That's only a few mags out of puff.
Yeah, but see, to the media, 200 rounds means 200 dead children. You know, that's how they think.
Oh yeah.
They're like,
yeah.
That's called filling up your magazines. I mean, it takes that much to fill up the magazines that carry on me most of the time.
Let's see.
At any given time, I've got somewhere between 65 rounds. Yeah.
Is that a cache?
Yeah, it depends on who you're talking to.
That's 420 rounds.
That's the little can, man. That ain't even.
I know.
That's just pocket ammo right there.
It's 420 rounds. So man,
if you take all the cardboard out of that, it's about a third full.
Oh, this is bulk loose. 5.56.
Bulk loose. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Some of them on stripper clips, maybe, but yeah.
That's what I got the other day with stripper clips, and I don't like stripper clips, but
yeah. Take what you get, man. That's the way it is right now.
No, I take it and I take the stripper clips off and put it in the can.
I got one of those things you put on the magazine and use the stripper clips.
Well, I got one somewhere, but if I needed it, could I find it to get a magazine loaded? Probably not. I'd probably wind up stripping them off anyway. So
I probably shouldn't tell everything I keep. I keep like 20 AR mags in an ammo can already loaded, so you don't have to be loading nothing. They're right there next to the AR. So I've got a little thing I throw over the top of me that's got 6 mags.
Oh yeah,
with it, and then I've got the can. So if I need more ammo, I'll say, Krista, throw me that can.
Steve said I have that many rounds in my magazines.
Yeah, that's
we do too.
Yeah, 28 rounds at a time if you're using AR mags, unless you got those really expensive Surefire mags that hold 90. Those are cool.
Jim's on here with us tonight, and he said the past couple of years I've grabbed a box of ammo every trip to the gun store, whether I needed it or not. That way, I always buy something each visit to support the local store and put some back for times like these. Yep.
Good deal. Well, I just want you guys to know through this whole show, this is my notepad. You can see. Did you catch her to that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I loved it.
Did you see the one? Did you see what Bulwarks did? They had a picture of her holding it up, and it had the castle on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that was pretty cool.
I hope she's good. I hope she doesn't have some kind of something on her that they're going to blackmail her with, like they do the Chief Justice Roberts. I don't know what he's got in his background, but man, they've got something on that dude, because I ain't never seen nobody do the stupid rulings that he's done. But that's another case. All right, let's wrap this puppy up. I think everybody in Washington tries to get some kind of dirt on someone else so they can blackmail them into doing what they want to do.
Oh yeah,
that's my 5 seconds of wisdom tonight. All right, send your feedback to Troy@GuyGunsPodcast.com or
Doug@GuyGunsPodcast.com.
And for you guys that have been sending me emails to Troy@GuyGunsPodcast.com and I've not replied back to them, there's a reason, because there is something screwy was going on with Apple, my phone, and some kind of a certificate that I went about crazy, like 36 hours of every 5 seconds popping up. Finally got that figured out, straightened out. I can send, receive that email now. So I apologize if I haven't responded to you or it got disappeared, because I had to delete that whole account off of my phone. It lost like all the emails, and hopefully they'll populate back. I don't know. But there was that. Tell your friends about us. Leave us an iTunes review. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/GuyGunsPodcast. You can subscribe to us on YouTube for now. You can follow us on Twitter, maybe, because Periscope's gone. I don't know. It's not working tonight. So that's connected to Twitter. We might have been banned over there. We'll see. What else? Instagram. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on MeWe. I know MeWe's not really pretty or anything like that, but fail safe. We're over on Parler. We're on Webkin. And our website is almost functional. GuyGunsPodcast.com. Putting the final nails in that, and I'll start populating that stuff as soon as Doug says it's good to go. So until next time, Doug, have a blessed week.
And keep your guns close, but keep your Bibles closer.
Good night, guys.
Have a good night.
And I do have some good shoes on tonight, Jim. Shoe guys. T-shirts. Yep, I'm working on that. I don't have them yet, but I'm talking to 2 different companies again. So we're gonna be out here. Good night. Thanks a lot. Adios.